I grew up in a 2-parent household, trying to see that as the example. My parents been married, I feel like forever. I mean, since I was born. And people always say that plays a big part. So I'm wondering with y'all, how much did your parents? I know who's y'all's family. Are your parents still together? How much did that play a role in your decision to remain married, to be divorced, seeing the situation of your parents, whatever that may be, whoever you would say?
Okay. Well, it plays a big part because that's the example that I have. Mm-hmm. So even though I knew my ex-wife was cheating, and I went to my dad and I said, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think I should do? He's like, you're married. He's like, work it out. If you can't work it out, split. He's like, there's no in between. You either work it out or you don't. And he said, do you want to work it out? I said, I do, but I don't know how long I can deal with the cheating. Mm-hmm. So my father says, there's things that happen in marriages that sometimes you just don't want to talk about. And so when you have a counselor, thank goodness for my dad that he was around to be that counsel, right? And even though it didn't work out, it did work out, right? So parents are still married. They just celebrated 42 years last week. You know what I'm saying? So mm-hmm. It's like, who wouldn't want that? You know what I'm saying? Like, now, if you don't want it, that's fine too. There's mm-hmm. nothing wrong with that, But I knew, like, if I'm getting married, I'm not trying to be everywhere. Mm-hmm. Hey, we good. Let's build something together because I see what my mom and dad have. I see how long they stuck it out. I know it could work for me too. Yeah. And that was it. So when I first had my first marriage and it didn't work out, I didn't look at it as marriage is bad. Mm-hmm. I looked at it as I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough. Like they had this conversation in church, like when you get married, before you get married, you start playing house, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't want to play house. I was like, because if I'm playing house, what's the point of getting married? So I'm not going to play house. And then they was like, yeah, but it gives you a chance, an idea to see how the person is living. No, you can kind of tell by other things, right? Mm-hmm. So if I step in your car and your car look like a mess, mm-hmm. but that's a vehicle you're going to be in, day out.
You already know.
How is your house? Mm-hmm. Are you going to keep my house dirty like this? Right? But then I got to think about myself, right? Mm-hmm. If I go out and I take you to eat and, you're using your hands and it's not finger foods, we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? But don't be cute. You don't have to be cute around me. Do you? But these are things that you're showing. So I watch that. So then I say, now you've seen a lot of the little things that annoy you. Mm-hmm. And then you've seen the stuff that makes you happy. Which can you live with it? Because at the end of the day, those quirky things that you might be annoyed of, you may not be able to be the person. You can't get rid of those. That belongs to that person. It's not mine to get rid of. Right. Richard, can you live with that thing? So me determining whether I can have a long life with my wife now was, I told myself the things that she was showing me, there weren't all those little flags that you mm-hmm. talk about. I asked myself, can I live with it? Right? I know I can't live with somebody who's out there cheating on me. I know I can't do it. It's not going to work. There is no 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, no more. It's one and done. Because I've already experienced that. I know what that pain is. I don't need to experience it again. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm done. And I'll smile. I'll be done with a smile. Like, okay, we don't even need to fight. Mm-hmm. No fighting, please. I paid my dues. I don't want no problems. Mm-hmm. But My parents definitely are a model for me, you know, and I love what the sanctity of marriage is. I love it. I'm a guy who wanted to be married, you know. I know a lot of my friends, they didn't want to be married. They didn't. They didn't
I
really
was
be
just
married.
talking about that. That's
They didn't want to,
yeah, with my
and
father.
then they got married.
And they like it or not?
Some of them got divorced.
Yeah.
Some of them kind of complain. I'm the only one that's smiling happy. but it's because we choose to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in counseling with my wife now. Together. Like, we're not like talking about we're talking about our relationship together. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, well, she does this and then he does this. Like, nah, like, I can be transparent and open and say, like, I'll tell you now, right? I'm great at making money. I'm good at it. But I suck at managing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I'm not the best manager of money, so I know God wants us to be good stewards, right? So I
sent you that
said,
Miles Monroe
right?
video.
So I said, babe, I delegate everything. This is just recently. I said, I delegate all the bills to you. Whatever money that comes in, I'm giving all to you. Because she's got the Excel spreadsheets, she's got the details, she's very structured. I'm not structured at all. Don't ask me to do it. Like, no, stop. Like, you're going to lose, right? But if you tell me to go do this for the car or do this and build this or do that, hey, I'm your guy all day, every day. You know, even if you want me to go grill, I'll grill. So there's certain things that I saw with myself that she liked that she couldn't do, so we fit each other. But it took time for us to learn that because we have big arguments to a point where she says, Rich, I don't know if I want to deal with you anymore. I said, I know. Sometimes I don't know if I want to deal with myself.
You told her that in the beginning?
Yeah, I told you that. And you can ask her. I'll bring her here. She'll say, he always reminds me that he's difficult. And I said, I am difficult. But I love hard, you know? And I'll make sure that you straight. I will never disrespect you. You will never feel like you're not protected.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you can depend on my loyalty for you. You know what I'm saying? These are things that I know that women, it doesn't matter what type of woman you are. Women want security, they want to feel protected. And that's it. As long as they feel security and protected, all the other stuff they'll deal with. They'll put up with you. But they'll know, hey, if anybody disrespects me, he's gonna be in his face, or he's gonna protect me, or he's gonna make sure that this house, we holding it down. Other than that, all the other stuff, man, we work through. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I just celebrated 6 years of marriage, 13 years with my wife, and you know what we say to each other? Man, we made it another year. Like, yeah, we did. Like, man, good for you.
High five.
High five. Like, high five. So,
You
yeah.
said something about playing house. Fun fact. They found out that those who lived together before marriage were 13% more likely to get divorced. That was a study done
Interesting.
by some college in last year, actually. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Your parents.
Did they play a factor? Did their relationship play a factor?
Yeah, are they together still?
They're still together.
Okay. And how much did that play a factor in your decision?
Didn't really. I do look back and think, almost positive, I think my mom's parents stayed together. My dad's parents did not. There's a lot of divorce or non-marriage but kids throughout. So I wanted to be, you know, up there in the 40s and 50s and 60s with the one marriage. But at the end of the day, that didn't keep me, that wasn't a factor in why I stayed as long as I stayed or pushed as long as I pushed. It was really just, I want a marriage that reflects God, what God wants is what kept me there. But I do look at my parents' marriage and I'm like, good job. Because I believe it's not easy. You got to work for it.
Yeah, I never heard nobody say it's easy.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, they're
no.
lying to you.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no.
never heard nobody say a good marriage is
No.
a hard one ain't easy and a good one ain't easy. I mean, nothing good is easy, really. It's not. So, You were done? Are you?
I could add something.
Go ahead.
What I realized in the marriage is don't lie. And you'll survive. Even when you mess up, just tell them the truth. And do it fast. Don't wait. I'd rather get the yelling out of the way early than have it hover, because it starts to build like that. You don't even know that you'll be hiding. It's like you're hiding in your own home from your spouse because there's a secret that you're holding. So if I ever had a secret, I stopped having secrets because you know the cell phone, you know the cell phone thing with the guys with the cell phone and the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got that on the mic? Okay. So I was that guy in the beginning.
Which you would turn it upside down or whatever.
You find my phone like here. Like, why is your phone like that? Like, why is my phone bothering you there?
Let me dispel that, because I did that all the time. And it was never because I was trying to hide nothing.
I do that.
I just do
I
that
keep
to
my phone
protect the
down, like-
screen.
But when insecurity plays a role, right?
Yeah.
When insecurity plays a role, the idea for me and the woman is she wants to always feel protected, in control of her environment and where she's at. So if you're within her environment and something looks odd to her, she's just gonna point it out. But for me, it was normal. It says, so I was like, I flip it around. I'm like, okay. But then once I find the phone over here, then I'm like, I put it there.
Yeah.
Now I was like, wait a second. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
So she found something and she wasn't happy. And I said, well, whatever you look for, you'll find it. I said, but whatever you're conjuring up in your mind, don't allow that to think that that's what's happening, because what you found was something in the phone that you just choose not to like, but that doesn't mean I'm interacting or I'm doing anything. So it came to those little high school kid games to a point where I'm like, hey, but like, I had to say, Rich, do you have any skeletons? I had to ask myself, like, okay, I get it, you feel privacy, all that, but really, Rich, do you have any skeletons? No. So you know what? Her going in my phone should never even matter to me whatsoever. I don't care, because I have nothing to hide. I don't have any skeletons. So, hey, here's my password too. You can hold my phone for a week. You can hold it for a month. I need it though, right? But the idea was, once I got to that point, then I was like, I trust her. I trust my wife. You know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, we're always tapped into this device, and 95% of our time is all in the phone. So even the human interaction is different now, right?
Yeah.
We don't interact the way we used to, because most of our time is spent in looking on these screens.
Yeah.
So I say that to say, when I went through the process of building that relationship with my wife, it all is a process. Any relationship is a process, good, bad, and ugly. We just chose to work it. We chose to work it out, because we had moments where we're like, yo, but we said, do you love me? Yes. Do you love me? Yes. That means we can work it out.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
I don't want to continue this fight. And that's when I knew, like, okay. That's why I said it has to be, I don't love you.
Right.
Do you love? Yes. Yes. Okay. So what can we do to fix it? There's a chance. You know what I'm saying? So when you talked about the many times, I understand why, because you were hoping, you had hope. You're holding on to hope. And there's nothing wrong with that. you weren't wrong for what you were doing or how you're feeling. And the family that were trying to give you advice, they weren't wrong for telling you because they care too. They were just giving you their perspective because they're seeing their baby hurt or they're seeing that. So whatever it sounded like, yeah, it sucks. You don't want to hear it, but it was still like you had to go through your process. So while you was going through your process, I understood it because I'm like, why would I take a woman back multiple times after sleeping around with different men? For men, it's different. That's like, you feel like, what, like, oh my God, like, women like, no. Like, that's
the
murder.
double standard is
you
there.
You have a murderous
real.
wit
It's
at
what
that
it
point.
is.
You understand? Like, you feel disrespected. You feel shame. You feel, So, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Okay.
I've been through it. I've been through the ringer. I understand it. And I understand when people are talking about their story. Well, by the way, you have a voice. You use it, right? You have a voice, we have to use it. But when we talk about these things, I like to hear different perspectives. Because like Mike said, our journeys, what we go through is for somebody else. It's not necessarily for us. He's happier now because he's in good energy, he's good space. Mm-hmm. And necessarily you don't need a woman for that, or you need to be whole first, and then you can get with your girl, and then that makes you whole. Because not like I'm a half and you're a half, it makes a whole. No, you're whole, she's whole, it makes a whole.
It's just a new whole.
Yeah, it's just a whole new, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Like on the parents, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's probably what your dad also meant, right? You see how like you treat things, right? Do you love me or do you not love me? Your dad say either you work it out or you don't.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's either you love me or you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And
there's no gray area.
There is no gray area. The gray is like you're playing, you love God, you love the devil. Which one you want?
Yeah.
You tiptoeing on the line.
The only time gray works is if you both gray.
Right, and that's that's the area where it's bad. That's where it's like, that's where it's
crazy,
like, right?
Yeah, try to be gray, but
that was
crazy.
That was the gray area that made me get up and hit my ex-wife.
Right.
That was it, because she never said I don't love you. I was just waiting for her to just, I don't love you, Rich.
No, yeah, that would have been a better answer.
Yeah, for me, it would have been like, oh, got it.
Right.
But when you say because I can, I'm like, you made me feel like a toy, like you was playing me.
And that's where she was pushing buttons.
Right, and that's when the button got pushed.
Right.
But that was the trigger.
Right.
And so after I went through that part in my mind, as I got older and started realizing, oh, okay, my ego got crushed. I felt below. You hit below the belt. And so anger plays a big part in relationships too. Because I'm sure there was angry times that you were angry. Maybe he was angry, you're confused, or vice versa. Because trust me, you get married, I don't think there's no such thing as, and like if no one's arguing, if there's no arguing, somebody's lying. Like,
No, I've heard that. You're supposed to argue.
yeah, like there's going to be arguments.
It's healthy,
right? It's just like don't take it to an extreme, but
yeah,
you gotta iron it out, the details, because But I'm gonna have my wife come, and she'll tell you.
Yeah, I want to hear her perspective. I know she has something to say.
Oh yeah, probably.
Parents, Mike.
So interestingly, this is gonna be different point of view. Right?
Okay.
Crazy. So, parents' relationship, I feel, did the opposite on our marriage. Why? My parents were separated from a long time ago. So for me, going through that experience of single parent household, how it affects the children, or what is lacking from not having a dad around to the kids and stuff, made me want to have a stronger relationship and stay into a marriage a lot more. Why? Because then I'm thinking about my kids. I don't want my kids to experience that, right? Where for her, her parents were married for a very long time, right? And at the point that her parents got a divorce out of nowhere, I think made it easier for her to say, I should be able to get out of this if it's not working. So I think it worked in counter spaces as far as for us. You would think, you know, seeing your parents together makes you want to stay together, and vice versa. For me, not having would make it easier, but it was the opposite.
You wanted something different than what you experienced.
Yeah, and she was looking at her parents like, I want something different. I don't want to stay in something that's not working long term, because that's what my parents did.
What kind of conversations did you have with your parents while y'all were going through it?
None. So I am a very private person. I could be going through something and no one will ever know, right? Just literally just solo to myself about it. By the way, that is something that also you learn to change with divorce, right? You learn, oh, maybe I should be more open with my feelings. Talk to more people. Express yourself, because it's good to express yourself, because then you learn to come together and express yourself in the relationship. But not much ever. But as far as what was going on with her, we had a lot of conversations about that. Like how her parents' relationship was affecting her, how she felt about it, what she was seeing. And I think it played a big part into our relationship because I could see it. You know, too many times I had to stop her to be like, look, I'm not, this is not your parents' relationship.
Yeah.
So stop treating it like it.
Projecting.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of times, like whatever was happening there, she would bring it in. Like she would be like, oh, my mom dealt with this and put up with this. I'm not going to put up with this. And I'd be like, oh, slow down. I'm not your dad.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like I'm going to be the same way. Or that really I wanted her to know that it's not, when their relationship was their relationship, our relationship was our relationship.
Yeah.
Once you start bringing that into it, it becomes a problem, because you're now going to treat me differently because you're going to see me in a different light.
You mentioned the kids. What impact do you feel like after your divorce had on them? And how do you see about,
So,
just trying to control that whole area?
Yeah. So impact on the kids is a little crazy, right? Because I think one thing that gets lost in the shuffle, that because you hear people talk about how the relationship is with the kids, like what are the kids going through? As a parent or as a person involved in a divorce, you're not in your right state of mind for a while. So for you to be able to stop to see what's going on with your kids, you can't, because you're not good yet for you to really analyze your kids and what they're going through. So I think with that said, most of the time, the divorced parents look at the kids and say, the kids are right. Because the kids are not expressing it like that for the most part. Some do. But for the most part, the kids are going through the motion just as you are. Oh, I guess we're not going to be in the same home. Or, they start asking questions like, okay, so do we see mom? Do we see dad? How am I supposed to be with you? How am I supposed to be with them? Like, they ask questions because they're just trying to figure it out for themselves.
It's like a new normal.
Too.
Yeah.
Right. But they're not, some kids are mad about things and may express it and stuff like that. But for the most part, kids are trying to figure it out too and stuff. So you don't really have a clear picture as far as what they're going through. They're going through something, but you have to deal with you, and it's hard to deal with you and also deal with them. That's why it is important to as individuals, when you do get a divorce, you need to start dealing with your healing process. Not even so much for yourself, but for the kids. Because you healing will allow you to help the kids. right? Because if you heal, then you can now be in the right space to say, here's how I'm dealing with this. How are you doing? Hear them out. And not only that, but if you do that as well, now you two can be back on the same page when it comes to dealing with the kids, right? I have no problem talking to my ex-wife about the kids, none whatsoever. And I make her comfortable as far as call me any problems, anytime, as if I'm still living in the house, so that the kids are not feeling like they're not being heard by one or the other. You know, my son comes up to me and tells me, Mom did this, Mom did that, you know, I have this problem. We talk it out. Respect your mom, understand where she's coming from. Here's the issue. I understand. Maybe she had a rough day. Go talk to her. You see what I'm saying? I try to set the example, everything, right? Mother's Day, you're not forgetting Mother's Day. You better get your mom something. You know, a lot of times I got to run out and get it because he forgot. But it's just, of course, the process, right? You can't forget her birthday. Did you tell your mom you love her? Your mom is taking care of your, of your school stuff, show her appreciation, stuff like that. Why? Because you can't let your relationship, what happened between you two, carry on through the kids. Because it will, because you don't know how they're perceiving something.
That was my next follow-up. How do you, I know he's young now, how are you thinking about as he grows into, wants to, I don't know if he's dating yet or not, but into getting into marriage, how you're going to talk to him about that, coach him through that? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm conscious of that. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know the conversation we'll have, but I'm conscious of it. Why? Because I want to be able to say, all right, so same thing like he's into basketball, right? He plays sports. I play basketball. So when I approach something with him or I'm teaching him something based on something I've done. So then I can say, see, I told you this is how I did it. What kind of results you got out of it? And then he can compare and he could see, oh, okay, I see what he's talking about. So the same thing as he gets older, if I tell him, no, this is how you're going to treat your wife. You see how I treat your mom. You see what I'm saying? So he's aware, oh yeah, dad never disrespected mom or anything like that. So he knows. Or if I tell him, do this, do that, it's going to build a better relationship for you. He knows I'm coming from a good place because I let him see that as well.
Yeah.
Right? And not just with mom, but with women in general. He's still opening up the door. You still letting letting a woman in first. You still you have to still instill these things into them, especially in this day and age, because human relationship is not the same, right? We're all having conversations on this.
Yeah.
And they're missing those little things, and I see it there, right? Him and his friends get in the car, and we're in the same car, and they're texting each other.
Stop.
And I'm like, yo, you guys can't talk?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wanted him to see what was, I'm like, put the phone away. He doesn't need to see it, or you can pass him your phone, but have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? But then I have to think about it in a bigger picture. If they're doing that, that's going to be the relationship they're going to have later on, even in a marriage. Because even me, who's not addicted to my phone whatsoever, I found us in that same kind of space in the relationship when I was married, where I'm like, let's put that phone away.
Yeah.
You sat here for 2 hours, we haven't said a word because you've been on your phone. You see what I'm saying? So I'm aware of the space, and I'm aware of how I move within a space, especially when he's around. Because the conversation's gonna, it's gonna come up.
Kids.
Yeah. Impact, and I know you got like babies, but like, what do you see that conversation looking like?
Yeah, my youngest, I don't think has been affected by anything yet. But
How old is
he's
your
3. And we were done when he was 3 months.
Yeah.
My second oldest, so I have three. My second oldest automatically saw something. She couldn't verbalize. She was, I want to say 3 when we were done. And immediately, she still doesn't always, I'm still teaching her how to, you got to speak. You can't just grunt. You can't just scream when there's a problem. You got to communicate. But one of the first signs I saw with her was first week of preschool, away from dad. She would not eat. She refused to eat for at least 2 years. Every single day, my stomach hurts. And I'm like, until I realized it's probably a stress response. She holds her stress in her body. My oldest verbalized, and I was dreading the statement, was it my fault? Oh, my heart. I mean, she hasn't said it since. That was 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So maybe months after to a year after is when she made the statement or asked the question, was it my fault or was it our fault? And I said, no, had nothing to do with you. Daddy and I just, we arguing a lot. And I mean, I don't want to get too detailed with them about it, but it's tough at this age, and I'm still kind of trying to navigate what exactly I'm going to say. But we've had her dad and their dad and I have had the conversation of we cannot talk badly about each other at all, because they are made up of both of us, and if we defame each other in their eyes, that means we're also hurting them.
Yeah.
How I want to talk about marriage in the future is 100% promote, encourage communication. Right now, when I'm teaching my 2 oldest, because my youngest doesn't understand right now, but is what does a good friend look like? So, who would you want to be your friend versus qualities you would not want in a friend? We're not talking about dating right now because they're too young for that. But yeah, just starting out with friendships. When they do get to that age where boys still have cooties for them, so I'm good with that. But once they do get to that age where they're starting to say, "Ooh, I like so and so," I don't know yet. I haven't crossed there yet. But right now, it's really just friendships. I don't want to have too rigid a view. I'm not sure. I'm nervous that I'll push them away
that
from.
was my follow-up
Yeah.
for Elliot. Go ahead.
No, that's funny that you bring that up, right? She doesn't want to have too rigid a view. Parents, now that you're no longer in the same house, so it's 2 parenting skills, right?
Yeah.
So one could be completely different than the other. And we are. Tati and I are different.
Okay.
She's very strict and hard. I'm very loose, right? I like life to teach you lessons. So if I think you're gonna get burned, I'm probably gonna let you get burned, and then I'm gonna say,
No,
you probably shouldn't touch that again. Where her, she's gonna tell you 100 times, don't touch that, and if you touch it, she's probably gonna spank you for touching. You see what I'm saying?
Even though you got burnt.
Even though you got burnt, but she told you not to touch it. So teaching styles is way different. So at some point, I was like, we're gonna clash, like hard, because the philosophies are different. And the kids are smart. They know that. And they'll play you against each other big time once they see that. Oh, wait. Mom said that if I go tell daddy about this a different way, he's going to get on mom about it. Or he's going to give me the freedom, or vice versa. So at some point I was like, hey, so you like this and I'm like that. Kids are going to use that against us. You know that, right? She's like, yeah. I said, so let's set some ground rules. What mom says goes. Okay, so if you tell him something and he tell you different because daddy said so, say it doesn't matter. What mom says goes. And I'll back you up. Why? Because if you don't do that, you're gonna get abused.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are smart; they're gonna abuse you, and it's not gonna work out. But not only that, but when you bring it to a space like that, now we can have a conversation about something serious,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if something happened, now you're comfortable. You're gonna call me and say, "Hey, I don't know how to deal with this. How do you want to deal with that?" We can have a conversation. But if we're not there, we're not gonna have a conversation. You're gonna say, how do I deal with that? And I'm gonna say, how do I deal with that? And the kid's gonna get mixed emotion.
Do you think that would ever backfire though? Whatever mom says goes, but you really feel strongly about something.
No, it won't backfire. You know why? Because whatever, even if we were in the same house and we dealt with it the same way, whatever mom says goes, after that I can have a conversation with you about it. Look, I don't really agree with how you dealt with that, but not with them present.
Mm-hmm.
It's them knowing that there's only one rule, they're going to follow it. But if I don't agree with your rule, let him think whatever mom says go. We can have a conversation about it and we can come to some agreement about it. You see what I'm saying? And then you can go back.
Don't let them see the division.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
You let it's just like companies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you run your company. You know you can have difference of opinion, but that's not for your clients to see. That's for you guys to work out internally,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can make it work for your client. Same thing.
Real quick, I'm curious with you, how has co-parenting been like? Is that,
It's not very good.
that wasn't a joke.
I'm sorry. No, it's not the best.
Mhm.
Yeah, we definitely butt heads. We really only have to speak about. We can only speak about the kids. But even sometimes in speaking about the kids, we just don't agree on certain things. And what I've had to tell the kids, they'll say, "Well, Daddy lets us do that when we're with him." I'll say, "Well, do I look like Daddy? I'm not Daddy. You're at my house right now." Because there really is no, at least at this point, there's really no agreement like that.
I was gonna ask, was there an agreement before y'all got married about kids? How y'all wanted to raise them? Or was that something that came about?
So, loosely, I shouldn't say loosely, because the agreement that I remember as far as before we had kids was had more to do with religion, right? So she was raised Adventist her whole life, and she's like, I want to raise my kids to be Adventist as well. So that their belief system and how they go through life is through that guidance. So for me, I had to think about it. All right, well, am I all right with that or am I not all right with that? So at that point, I had to make a decision based on that. So the agreement was, okay, well, we can raise them the way you would raise Adventist kids, Christian kids, like what teachings and follow. Now, ironically, we both don't go to church right now, so but I think that still plays into it, right? It still plays into it because I know certain things that I want for my kids, certain things I want them to understand. I want them to have a relationship with God.
That was my next question in terms of specifically
But
how how they go about the dating life or marriage life. How much faith do you want your children to
well, so
put into
being
it?
that I was raised in a religious home, with my mom always went to church, always took us to church, always made sure we had a relationship with God. She did allow for all of us, siblings, there's 4 of us, to choose our own path. She just always was there to remind you, there's a God. Regardless of if you want to have a relationship with him, don't forget he's there, right? So, but we're able to do our own thing, and I like that, right? Because she's not forcing us to do anything. She's just letting us know, here's the guidance. When something goes wrong, you can always look to him. So the same way I can do the same thing for my kids is, here's who you go to when stuff is not working out right, or when stuff is working out right as well. Just build a relationship, learn to have God in your life. However you want to go about it, you know, you can be way over here, way over there, but just know he's around. You
Yeah.
know, he hasn't forgotten about you, even if you forget about him.
Yeah.
So, to that aspect.
Bitch.
Good.
When you pop a jit, I'm saying, what's my bad, that's Florida talk. When you have children, what,
I mean, I have my fair share of nieces and nephews,
Right.
man. I raised
but I'm
them.
saying specifically
But
in
my
terms of
kids?
dating, marriage, how much faith do you see yourself infusing and how you show them about
It's
going
funny,
about it?
Mike said I'm closer to Mike's attitude in a sense. Like I'm kind of late. I'm more the chill, laid back. Like Pam already knows. Like I'm not doing none of their homework. You are. I don't know. I'm not doing none of their homework. When it comes down to carrying them, taking them around, getting them, I do all that. If they're screaming and yelling, they can play, jump on me, all that. I have a lot of patience for kids. Like I allow kids to be kids, so they can wreck the room. I wouldn't care. Or she might, you know. But I'm like, look, give them a space to mess up, and just know in your mind that they're kids. So if something messes up, don't scold them because they're children, but teach them, right? So, like all my nieces and nephews, they love being around me and Pam because one, we keep them for a little bit, we can return them back, right?
Yeah.
But I've had my experience even raising the one who's 22 now. She's 22 years old. She's gonna be 23 in November.
She's a grown woman.
You know, so you know she.
So
don't
how
talk-
did you go about that?
Well,
How
that
was
was
that
was not my child, so it was kind of like, but I was her dad in a sense.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird because me and her mother weren't together, but I was still taking care of her daughter. So imagine a woman who's dating somebody else, but I'm taking care of that child
Yeah.
with you, but she was okay with it, and anybody she dated, she let them know, hey. And the people who she dated respected that. That's why I have respect for her, because maybe her and I didn't work out, but me and this little girl, we fell in love with each other. And I took care of her, and I changed your diaper. I made sure you took you to school, made sure you had clothes. Like, I took care of you. But when she turned 12 and she started smelling herself, that's when she was like, you know, I'm not pretty. Then she went through the girl thing, and it was, I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel, so the insecurities started coming, but then the insecurities led her to a wrong path. And when a child has feet, legs, arms, hands, and access to phones and cars and people, they choose to do whatever they want. And there was much I couldn't do. You don't live with me. You live with your mom. So it was a complicated relationship because I didn't have too much say so because you weren't underneath my roof. Because if you was underneath my roof, it's a different story.
Did you express that to her?
So she knew that, and that's what she took advantage of. Because she knew that me and her mom wasn't together,
Yeah.
but her mom would say, I'm going to tell your dad. And she feared me until a point where she didn't fear me. And then she became disrespectful. And then when she became disrespectful, that's when her and I said, I love you, but I'm going to let you choose whatever path you want to choose. I would like you to come this way, but you're choosing to go that way. Just so you know, I'm still here. So no matter whatever it is that you do, know that you can still come back. I'm not going to close the door to you, but I'm letting you know you're not going down the right path. And still to this day, we haven't talked.
How long has it been?
This year, I haven't heard from her. She hasn't called her mother. She hasn't called me. She just, boy crazy. I love him. you know, and he loves me. And then she comes out and said, Daddy, he's a liar. And I'm like, I know. And she says, what do you want, you know? And then she blames me because of the guy. And I'm like, I don't know why, you know, you're blaming me. And she's like, you were never there. And I'm like, I was never there. I was like, well, you know, I said, it's hard for kids in growing up in their adolescence because they don't want to take accountability, want to point the finger for the decisions they make and say it's your fault because there was an out. It was an out. So I had my experience with kids in a different aspect, but in my household, I believe in spankings. I believe in disciplinary actions. I believe in loving. I believe in making sure they're going to church. And like I said, Pam and I, the reason why Pam and I are married, are going to be great together is because of her morale, of what her belief factor is. It's the same as mine. When you see her, you see me. That's it. So I can live with that. I can, you know, and I don't want her to be just like me. I need her to be different. We're a total opposite. You know that.
Yeah.
Me and Pam, my wife and I, we are total opposite. Like, I'm a decade on her. You know what I mean? She's 30. How old is she? Wow. She's 32, 33 years old. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So she came up during a time when things were different. I've already had that experience. So being together, she was so concerned about being the first. I don't have any firsts with you. I'm like, no, we're going to have a lot of firsts. Understand that. Like, yeah, remember, I was first born before you. So I already won that. You're not going to win that. But we're going to create some new firsts, right? We're going to have a lot of new firsts. And so that's the history that we get to build. You know what I'm saying? And once I see that with her, I know our kids are going to be fine. But like I said, once we do have kids, they probably, at least with me, they'll like me, you know?
I hope so.
But I'm still, you know,
Yeah.
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, fun
topic.
fact, we were talking about,
Yeah.
I asked that question about what you would, how much faith you would instill in your kids in terms of relationships. So 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's as of 2023. 60 to 67% of second marriages end in divorce, even more. So congrats to y'all, because y'all beating the odds as it is. And then 25% of Christian marriages end in divorce, which is actually high for Christians. But you see how much lower it is compared to just the rate of America in general. But you said something, though, that I want to follow up with that statistic. I mean, that sounds like a lot to me. 50%, I've been hearing that, I think, since I was in my 20s. And then 60 to 67% for second marriages. But you said that you wanted to be married since you was little. And so did I. And now I think about it, I guess that's kind of weird. I've always thought about being a husband since I was legit. Like, since like 5th, 6th grade, I've always consciously thought about what type of husband I wanted to be. Maybe it just came from seeing my dad. I don't know. But it makes me wonder now, and maybe it's because of this, where the numbers are with divorce, how much younger kids are thinking about that too, right? If teenagers, like even like Amir, like how I was thinking about it, I don't know how popular it is right now for kids, woman or boy, to be thinking about being a wife and being a husband. How are they even seeing marriage and relationship? So just anybody could shoot. What? Just give any advice.
Let me jump in there.
Go ahead.
Real quick to correct you.
What?
No, I wasn't thinking about marriage since I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Well, I believed in it. You understand? Like when I didn't, like when we grew up watching TGI Friday, Family Matters, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Maybe
watch
that's what it
these
was,
shows,
too.
like certain shows that we watch. We grew up. You see the family, Bill Cosby. You see, so growing up watching that, I wanted that. I like, oh, that would be cool, man, kids, and I like.
Yeah.
So we grew up like that, right? When I got to the age of dating or understanding girls and all of that, I was like, oh, you know, I wasn't even interested in sex. Like, all my homeboys in high school was having sex. I wasn't having sex in high school. I was just like, why? Because I started seeing them have sex, and I started noticing they were always having problems. Every single time. They were always having problems. This girl, and I was like, I don't want all those problems.
Yeah.
Right? And then when I finally had sex with one girl, it was some hood rat. It was some, it was horrible.
I'm sure,
right?
I'm sure she's a nice lady, nice young lady today.
Who knows? We didn't do nice things. So the whole point was.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
the whole thing was, it wasn't so cracked up to what it was all portrayed to be, because the person I was with was not who I wanted to be with. I was just doing it just for the sport. So it became a sport. There was no attraction. There was no connection. It became a sport, right? So I had to say that. I just wanted to throw that out there. No, I didn't believe in it at first. I understood it. I saw it. I thought it was cool, right? And my parents were married, so I said, you know what? I think I'm cut out to be married. I think I should.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And then when I did it, I was like, okay.
I didn't sign
Not
up
what I
for all
thought it
of
was
it.
supposed
I
to
didn't think it was gonna be like this.
I didn't sign up for all of
Right?
it.
I didn't sign up for this. Or I did sign up for
You're
it.
on point, and I feel like that's where a lot of people are right now. Though they're seeing people that signed up for things that were sold to them, and they got more than what they bargained for. Which is why I wanted to do this. I wanted to talk about this specifically because it's literally a coin toss right now for people getting married.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me touch on that
Go
a little
ahead.
bit, right? So I think these statistics also reflect something else, which is we become comfortable in doing things when we repeat the behavior. So, for example, when you're in a relationship, so I remember like early arguments are different than late arguments, right? So when you first having an argument with your spouse, it's more like, no, honey, I'm sorry, I don't quite agree. Here's what I was thinking. And then they're like, okay, I can see your point of view, but this is what I was thinking. There's a respect, right? The minute you cross that respect, it becomes easier to do it again.
That's true.
Right. So the minute you have that first argument that goes like this, man, get out of here. I don't know what the bleep you're talking about.
Finish.
You just introduced something new to the relationship that wasn't there before. So now the next time you have an argument, they will now be comfortable with saying bleep. And that will turn into more bleeps to the point where you don't hear each other. And then it becomes easier and comfortable to do certain things. I'm saying that to say the statistic is also that. People are now comfortable getting divorced. There was a time when it wasn't comfortable.
Sure.
Right? Now, most of us, society, preach to you, if you're not happy, get out. So it's acceptable. So it's comfortable for me to think, well, I'll get into this. And if it doesn't,
I don't like it.
If I don't like it, I can leave.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of paper.
Right. So I'm more willing to take the chance. It may not have been right for me. Those red flags you're talking about could have been like popping up like crazy, like weeds in the grass, right? But I don't care because I can, if I don't like the salon, I can replace it. So once that becomes the thing, you're going to get more of that. Where I think I would say to someone who hasn't been through marriage or someone who is looking to get into marriage and stuff like that, do the work. Do the work beforehand, right? And it's not that, for example, you wanted to do the work, it didn't happen. At some point, you should have froze that work. Like, look, are we going to do the work or we're not going to do the work? Because the work will tell you if you should get into it or not, right? If all of us have those flags. We see them. If we do the work, we'll know how to address it, right? If something was wrong and now I'm seeing a counselor and we're seeing a counselor, we can have the conversation. We're going to get into that argument that's going to happen later on. We're going to get into it now.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn to deal with it. You know what? I really didn't like how she came at me with that. And I don't know if I can be in a relationship with her based on that. Or, yeah, you know, we really didn't see eye to eye. We had an argument, but we figured it out. I think we can be in a relationship long term because we can figure it out. You'll find out these things early, and then you have less of a chance of having a divorce, or even having that conversation with your spouse. How do you feel about divorce? Where are we going to go with that? If we start going that direction, how are we going to deal with it? And you have to bring it back up and up, because I did have that conversation, and early on it was not. We'll never go that route. But once you start arguing and introducing new stuff, that becomes comfortable.
That's a good question. So in the beginning, y'all took it off the table initially, going into it.
Yeah, like, I mean, when you're in love and and all the flowers are blooming and the house smells good, you don't see that. You don't even think about it. Like, you're like, nah, this is right. Like, this is right. And it was right. Like, it was definitely right. Like, okay, well, we feel good. But because red flags are so different for everybody. It's so different. Like, you know what I mean? Again, there's no playbook that's going to give you, like, every play. You just have to do best practices, which is cover certain things in the beginning.
Do the work. That to me is major, what you said.
Right, yeah, do the work. Because you're going to know, honestly, you're going to know. Just like, forget marriage, right? Just relationship you have with your friends, your siblings, your cousins, your co-workers and stuff like that. You know, we all know when we get along with somebody and when we don't. Sometimes we know, I got along with this person really well. Now we don't deal with each other. But you would have known from the beginning. You know when my best friend, I knew would be a best friend for life from when we were kids. Well, I knew a lot of people, but you know what? Me and you, we click different. So we could have had arguments. I mean, we've gone years not talk to each other. When we pick up the phone, it's like we just spoke yesterday. Why is that? Because we always have good understanding. And you know that about everybody you have a relationship with. You know who you're going to have a long-term relationship with. You basically do, right? So if you got to minus the flowers and all the smell good and all that, minus that. You and that one person, if you're going to decide to get married, if you do the work, you're going to know if you can go long term with that person or not. You know what I'm saying? But until you have those conversations like that, until you have the counseling, until you sit down and you do all that, you don't know. You may think you know, and you're going to assume you know until it happens. And then when it happens, then it's different. When you stuck in the same house with that energy.
I was going to say, along with those statistics, unpreparedness before entering the relationship or into marriage.
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like you need to talk about everything. Kids, money. Are we going to have a joint bank account?
Look at that.
You talk about
that's what
debt.
Richard was talking about, right? Be honest and be honest early.
Correct.
I'm talking to her now. She's like,
be honest early. And little things matter, right? Like little things we didn't think would matter. Like Hush said, bank account. We're going to have a joint bank account or not? Because money is a big reason why people get divorced, right?
The biggest.
And guess what? Like, I even remember when we were struggling, like really struggling financially, right? And I can tell us ripping our relationship apart. And I had a conversation with a friend, and he said, out of the blue, he said, figure out your finances, talk about it, and figure out how both of you are going to get out of it. And he didn't even know my situation. So how did he know to bring that up?
You just know that's the highest price. Most likely that's what it's about.
Yeah, or the fact that if you're not doing it, do that. And people don't do that.
No, they don't.
They don't do that. And that's super important if you really, really think about it. Because at first, like, especially us guys, like, we think, like, man, like, why would I really want to go through all that? No, she know I go out, I make the money, I bring it home. Like, what? I'm paying for this. You got lights on, kids are in school. Like, you're dressed nice. What's the problem, right? But no, it's beyond that. Because I'll tell you what, your wife does not know how the money really works until she's got to deal with it. What you're making your wife do changes the whole dynamic of the relationship. You know why? Because now she sees the money. She sees all the bills. She knows how it's allocated. So when you say, "Hun, leave me $20," and then you bring home flowers for $15, it's worth more, right? I only gave him $20, and he brought me some flowers at home. That flowers mean a whole lot more. Now, if she don't know all that, and you bring flowers, it's just, oh, he brought me flowers. No, he brought flowers with the last dime he had left after he took care of everything. He must really care about me. He's really thinking about me. There's a big difference. The transparency changes the dynamic of your relationship. So that's why you got to do the work.
I'm just now doing it. Like, literally, like, I think I was talking to you. And did I mention that to you?
What's that? About
we
the
did
money?
a Zoom, and I said, I just gave my wife access and said, you take care of all the bills.
And give you an allowance.
You can give me an allowance. Yeah, I told her, I said, I need an allowance. I can have a ton of money in my hand, and I know there's bills, but I don't know where it
There's
goes.
pretty things.
There's all these things, and I don't have any. I don't look at things.
You bought the Barclays today?
No, I didn't. But I sure did think about it. But I said, I have a pair in my closet. It's crisp. Why, Rich? So I stopped being frivolous. And I said, okay. We had to pay Comcast yesterday for the office. We paid the office rent today. I said, babe, go into the account. Look, she looked at me. That's what she texted me now about money. And I said, I'd rather her text me about the money than me having to tell her after the fact.
Right.
And then she's like, hey, babe, what's it? And I said, oh, yeah. I found myself fumbling words. Like I wanted to lie. And once I started feeling like I wanted to lie, I was like, I don't want to lie. I don't want to get in trouble. Let me just get in trouble. I'll get it over with and say, babe, I can't do this. I'm not good at this. I'm good at this. But if you do this, give me an allowance. Give me $1,000. Give me $1,000 and I'll manage that. I'll even cut the. I don't need. And I started thinking, I don't need anything. So what am I doing? I have my investments. I have this. What do I need? So let her manage this. Let her feel like she's a part of it, because keeping her in the dark, it doesn't help me. But when I open up the bank account and here's the books and here's everything, and she's like, oh, then she starts cross-referencing. Oh, this is where you messed up. Oh, that's what you did. I heard. Yes, I heard it. Let me go through the bank statement.
You know, and that's also important, right? So right there, she's also making you inclusive as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you being blind is not the answer either, right? I'm not saying you give her all the money and then now she knows. No, you still need to know. Why? Because when you're short, you need to know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not going to know you're short. I know I'm making money. I'm bringing money. What do you mean I'm short? You know what I'm saying? But if you don't know, no, it's not 10 bills we have, it's 20. Oh, damn, I'm not making enough money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a big difference. But when you thinking in your mind, no, I go to work, I work hard, I bring home money. What she mean we have no money? What are you spending the money on? You see all the money. What you mean I have no money? You see what I'm saying? It's a big difference.
Yeah.
You allow her to see it, and she needs to also bring it back to you. Look, this is what we're doing. This is how I'm splitting the money. This is the bills I'm paying. So that you don't think she's buying, a new
Amazon.
a new bag every week.
Amazon is the favorite thing.
Ooh, there's a reason why you're the richest man in the world.
Did you give a take on this, Harry?
Amazon.
About the statistics? Or just I did, but I did want to follow up and specifically call out that also before marriage, understanding, because I definitely didn't understand this until I got married. What do I want the dynamic to look like? What are the roles and responsibilities? I was like, okay, a wife is supposed to cook and clean, and I don't like doing stuff. I mean, I do it, but
You don't like to cook.
why?
So
No, I'm just playing.
Were you
I
guys?
thought that's what you said.
Were you guys
Yeah.
traditional?
At first.
Okay.
Until I realized, oh, he cooks way better than I do, but always wanted me to cook.
Okay.
I was like,
How did that work?
You know, I just learned.
you do better.
Most of the men in the Bible cook.
I didn't notice that. Oh.
Most of the chefs in the Bible were men, not women.
Well, I'm in that. I mean, I will cook a meal. It's not my favorite thing to do, though. But also, just understanding the roles and responsibilities. Because for me, I prefer, like, this needs to be 50-50. I like doing the bills. It's fun to see everything on an Excel spreadsheet. Ooh, look where all the money's going. This is great. And how much money do we have left over to play with? But stereotypically, that's the man's role. But I think having that conversation beforehand can really help if you know. But also knowing that it's if you don't know before you get married, being able to have a conversation about it. Like, I don't like doing this. Can you do this? But the right fit, like you said, you all fit perfectly well together. And that's great.
Yeah. Like you talked about spreadsheets. I always knew that because even with my business, my wife was the structured person and she made sure things were functioning. But I didn't apply that same mentality to my household. But in the business, I'm like, yeah, babe, you got it. But I was like, the same person who's operating your business should be operating a household. So, Rich, I know how to go cook and make the bacon and all of that. But she also does too. But here's the beauty of it. She knows how to structure things, put it in order, checks and balances, very technical, very like that. So I said, you know what? She cooks. My job is to wash the dishes. But I don't need a woman to wash my dishes. I learned to sweep, clean, mop, cook, wash my dishes by myself before I got married. So I didn't think of washing dishes as a woman's role. Even cleaning, I didn't see it as a woman's role. I just said, what is it that you're good at? Because I'm better at cleaning than my wife is. I'm better at doing the laundry. I'm better at ironing. I would not allow my wife to iron because she can't iron. If she cleans, I end up looking around after to see if she did. So I don't want her to think that she's not good at cleaning, but I'm like, you know what? Let me do it because I know how I am and she knows I'm going to clean it up anyway. When it comes to food, she knows, hey, if Richard says he's hungry, I'm going to cook for him. I'm not going to give him no issues. But I better wash the dishes. So because we have that understanding, our flow starts to get a little easier. But the one particular factor was the money. And it's just recently that I got clarity on, Rich, she needs to be managed. Let her do that. So now she has freedom in her mind. So she's not worrying whether or not I'm going to bring in enough. Right? I'm going to give all of it to her so she don't have to worry and she can look at it and she can manage it. And whatever comes out, if this is all you get for the week, I'll manage it. I'll figure it out. Hey, I can only give you $100 for the week. That's for your gas and for your food. You straight.
You know Warren Buffett
Yeah.
still gets an allowance from his wife,
I didn't even know he was married.
and
That's
it's change. It's like $5.
That's
That's why, and that's why he still rolls up to McDonald's, gets his own McDonald's and stuff like that.
in his old
$5
car.
can't even
in
get
his,
you
He
nothing.
keeps
McDonald's.
change. He
Not
keeps
anymore.
change, loose change in his car, but see, it's it's the practice that makes the difference in that.
Yeah.
All right, last question before we wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
I already know your answer to this. Would you get married again?
Yes, 100%.
Complicated, but
To the same person or no?
No.
Okay.
would I? If circumstances are right, yeah.
What does that mean?
That's why I say it's complicated, right?
Okay.
So, if I feel like we can be happy together, where it's gonna elevate us both. I'm not even concerned about are we gonna stay together long term. Divorce doesn't scare me. Not because I've done it and it's no, because I think human beings are you're entitled to change your opinion and your feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you feel today, I mean, all of us, right? The way you felt 10 years ago about something is not how you feel today.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that, right? So your opinion or your feelings about me could change, or mine could change about you, right? If we have respect and understanding, we can have a good relationship as human beings. And I think we're supposed to have relationships like that. But I think marriage, the component of marriage to me should be, is this going to make us better? Right. So if I feel like me and you are going to have a relationship without marriage, we can be good, then we don't need to get married. But if I feel like it's going to enhance our relationship, it's going to make us two better people being together, then yeah, I'm willing to possibly visit that.
It's impossible.
But yeah, it has to be right
Yeah.
in that sense.
I told Pam, that's it.
That's it.
I told her, that's it. I said, you better make it. That's it. I threatened her.
Oh,
You can't say that after what you already talked
Threatened her. I
about,
said,
bro.
you better make it.
Threaten her with love.
I threatened her with love. I said, that's it. I said, I'm not doing it after this. It's done.
I got a question for you.
Oh, I'm about to wrap up. Go ahead. Ask me a question.
go.
No, I'm playing. Go ahead.
So, with all you heard,
Yeah,
would you still be willing to get married?
of course.
All right.
I'm taking all of this and I'm putting it towards that. So
the goal is to not get divorced, though.
right, because most of the marriages that were around me at one point or another are no longer together, and most of the ones that are together are even struggling together. So, and I don't know if it's because I'm just getting older and my ears are more open to it, or if the times are changing. Maybe it's both, but I'm just more conscious of it now. Like, man, like marriage is like this really. It just doesn't seem as promising as it used to be. So like, what's going on? So I'm just kind of diving in. I'm talking to all my homeboys. I'm talking like, but what you said, doing the work, seems to be the biggest thing. Two people being willing to do the work. Like you said, either you love the person or not, and that can also equate to, are you willing to work on it or not? I've done pre-engagement counseling, which was extremely helpful before, and I think everybody should do that before they get married. I think that's it's very revealing. You learn about yourself and individual and what y'all look like together as a unit on paper, etc. You just explore all of that. So, yeah, I think it is. It's still the idea. It's not as. I'm not as idealistic as I was before. I don't romanticize it like I used to. So I have a better understanding of what it is now. But I do think it's something that if we're more transparent about, which is why I'm doing this, that people will start to learn and be more hopeful about it and understand how to go about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's my savior, but the biggest thing is he's my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So whenever I have a question, he's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
He if I put him as the answer to any question I have, to any situation, it makes things make sense. Mm-hmm. Whenever something doesn't make sense, if you just substitute and put his name into it, it'll make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my answer.
For me, I'm still in the North Star season. Still, I'm in the season of seeking Him, following Him, doing. I'm kingdom minded right now. I just kind of figured that out about myself. So yeah, He's just really my King that kind of blessed me with the privilege to be a king and serve His kingdom, and that's just where I'm at right now. If that makes sense, like you know what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Can't think of a word, but savior for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think in the sense of a model for how to live life. And especially when we're talking about marriage and divorce, I think just especially a model for humility, because I think that's one thing that breaks marriages apart is ego and pride. You can't humble yourself and realize you got it wrong too. Even
Amen.
if it's, at whatever stage something's wrong. So a model.
Amen.
I like what all three of you guys said. Savior, answer, model, North Star. I mean, I'm a believer. I'm Christian. I follow Christ. I've been following Him, and I like the idea of Him being the answer because my perspective has always changed every time I reflect back on Him.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about what He's done for us, you know, the redemption and the grace that we've been giving, I'm just happy to say, man, He really loved us, boy, because we are some mess.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, so I'm grateful, you know, to know that God loved us so much that, you know, He was willing to sacrifice Himself for us and hold to His word. So, yeah, I would say that the answer, you know, the model, and also that North Star. We were talking about that.
Guiding light.
Yeah. So that's the light I want to follow.